be here this evening to talk all things colour. Certainly to offer any assistance if you're embarking on a project and you'd like to know products that are suitable for it, because we do have a wonderful portfolio of products which have been designed to protect and beautify your space, and that's what we're here for tonight. So tonight, I'll let you know how our session runs. So for the first half an hour, we'll be streaming live. I'll be in front of the camera, and it is a fantastic time for you to pop any questions that you do have into the feed, and I will do my best to answer them for you. Once we finish streaming live, so once that half an hour is up, I will still be sitting behind the scenes, if you like, answering further questions. And then it is fantastic time if you do have any images or photos of any areas that you would love some help with, then you can pop them into the feed. Unfortunately, while we're streaming live, you're just not able to pop images in. So hold off until we conclude streaming, put the images in, but certainly by all means, you can start to ask your questions now. So for those of you that joined us last week, thank you very much for staying with us. We did have a few, let's just say, technical difficulties, but we had a fantastic session. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it, look, it's really well worth watching. We had James Treble, who is a fantastic interior designer and television personality. And look, he's just wonderful. The way that he talks about colour, how he shares his insights, and he's a very knowledgeable man, and I love having the opportunity to talk colour with him. So that was a really fantastic session. And so I'm going to bring up one of the questions that we were asked, and we've actually had a few more come through this week regarding something that James brought up, and we've talked about it previously, but it's something that's called 60-30-10. So look, I'll begin with that. So when you are creating an interior design, or you're creating and you want to create sort of a cohesive colour scheme and you want it to look balanced, there's a really easy design principle that you can follow, or a design rule, and it's called 60-30-10. So you can Google 60-30-10 and you'll be able to learn a lot more about it. But what it basically means is that you're using three colours, 60% being your main colour, 30% being the secondary colour, and then 10% being an accent. And sometimes you can split that 10% into, 5% of one colour and 5% of another. But generally, the majority of the time, three colours helps you to create a fantastic, cohesive, wonderful aesthetic. So you know how sometimes you'll walk into a space and you'll see the colour just looks perfect, and the placement's perfect, and the balance and the level of colour is spot on, and that's probably because they've applied that. So it's really easy to do. So you use 60% of one colour. So 60% could be your overall main wall colour, inclusive of, say, the ceiling. 30% could be, let's just say, 30% could then become doors and trims, and 10% or 30% could become feature walls. So you're injecting another colour into that space, and then that 10% could become, say you're wanting to create a hero in a space and you just want to inject a little bit more colour, so you may choose to paint a door. So that's just one example of how you can use colour. But yeah, 60% majority of one colour, 30% of another, and then 10% of another. So you're splitting that colour into sort of three. It works really well. I'd suggest having a try, like, going out, if you're about to embark on painting, let's just say a bedroom, and you're going to use a beautiful soft neutral for the walls. I'm going to think about a colour that I love, which is a colour called Alpine Snow, which is a very soft sort of neutral tone. Let me just see here, I'm putting myself on the spot now. Okay, so you could use that for the walls. Where are we? Actually, let's go up a little bit more. Let's go for Aspen Snow. So we're wanting to create a rather neutral scheme, so to speak. And this applies to outside as well. That's why I say generally when I'm looking at creating external colour schemes, just having three colours on the exterior looks fantastic again. So I'm going to pop together. Oh, hi Roger. You're watching from Julia Creek in Queensland. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I presume you're travelling around. I hope that's all going really well. Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm just popping together a colour scheme, for example. Here we go. So and I'm hoping that I can hold this up and you can see what I mean. And so that accent colour again could become perhaps even painting a piece of furniture, like painting a chair or something, and having that pop of colour in the corner can again work really, really well. So my ratios here probably aren't as good as they could be. However, so you can see here, let's just put the weight of the fan deck there. Okay, so I've got 60% of one colour, which is Aspen Snow, and then I have the next colour here, which is Eagle Crest. So I'm going to use 30% of that, and then I'm going to add a pop of colour, as you can see here, which is that brass. It's called Brass Dior, so a really lovely sort of muted or tonal aqua. So when I say tonal, it means that it has a little bit more of a grey undertone, and they tend to be quite timeless within their, I suppose within that colour family. Anything that is more tonal, so has more grey, tends to be beautiful and timeless. So doing something like that would work really, really well. So you could do, as I said, all of your walls in Aspen Snow. You could do your doors and trims if you wanted to in the darker tone there, and then you could add a pop of colour. You could either do a feature door in the Brass Dior, or as I said before, painting some furniture to inject colour that way. And the secret, once you've done a colour scheme like that, once you've completed it, the secret is once you've applied your 60, 30, 10, the next thing to look at is how you're going to help to create cohesion. And the best way is to do what's called repetition. So if you've used, as I was showing you, that beautiful sort of muted aqua sort of colour, looking for elements to bring that colour to life. So you may go out shopping and go and find yourself some throw rugs, some scatter cushions, etc., and that will then help to bring all of that together. It looks fantastic. You can't go wrong. And then, as I was saying before, if you're wanting to do 60, 30, and then 5 and 5, so again, 60% of one colour being the main colour, 30% your secondary, and then your accents could be 5% of one and then 5% of another. So that's another way you can do it as well. It's a really good, easy formula to help you create a successful scheme. Okay, so I'm now going to we've had a couple of questions come through. So the first one was from Kami. Kami Wicks, thank you very much for your question this evening. So you're saying, I would love some colour advice. I'm painting a media room that's in the middle of my house, no windows and no natural light. I'd like something warm and dark, as it will be used solely as a media room. Fantastic. So can't go wrong with something warm and dark. I think it's, you would have heard me talking about using these words before, like envelop and cocoon. So it's creating that beautiful space where you want to go. It makes you feel really relaxed. It almost makes you feel nurtured, and you can do that with colour. Colour is one of the easiest, and paint, obviously. Using paint, coloured paint, is one of the easiest ways to transform your space, and it's very cost effective. So depending on how, let's go dark and warm. So we could look at some beautiful chocolate tones. I want to keep it warm. So, I mean, the first one that I think of is a really nice dark earthy colour is Nutmeg, which is out of our 2024 colour forecast. Fantastic colour for creating that enveloped feeling, and it's a fantastic colour for using in something like a media room. So that would be number one colour. So let me just see if I can find that in here. I can find it any other time. When I'm live, I seem to have issues, but that's okay. So that's a really beautiful dark. I mean, that's the tone here. It's called Nutmeg. You'll have to excuse, you can see my fan deck is really well loved. That's certainly one that I would definitely recommend giving a try. It also depends as well, Kami, what other colours you have within your space. So when we think of like taking into consideration the colour of your lounge and any other colours and elements that are within that space. So usually that's something, so if you are watching, if you want to come back and let me know the colour of your lounge, there are any other colours in the space, being, you know, what colour are your window furnishings? Are there any bespoke bits of furniture, for example? You know, you might have a chair that's in a different colour, etc. Let me know a little bit more about what else exists within that space, and I can certainly help you pinpoint the colour. But another colour as well that is beautiful, is a colour called Black Bear. Here it is here. It may not look as warm on screen, but it is. It's quite a chocolatey tone. It's beautiful. Now the other one as well, so you can find this when you visit your local hardware store. So if you hop into Bunnings, you'll find them on the colour wall, but also too, you can find them if you go onto our website, which is www.taubmans.com.au, and you will be able to find there's quite a few drop-down menus. Look for the colours drop-down menu, hover your mouse over that, and then you'll see the 2024 colour forecast, and you'll find a lot of information around the colour palettes and all of the colours and how they can be used. But if you're looking for beautiful tones for a theatre space, Euphoric is a collection that I would definitely have a look at, and I've already pointed out the colour Nutmeg. There's another colour down the bottom here called Melted Chocolate, and there is also another beautiful tone called Dark Granite. So they are a couple of, well, I've given you 3 colours out of here, and the one previously, they're the colours I'd have a look at. But as I said, if there are some other colours that are existing within your space, let me know, and I'd be very happy to be a little bit more precise. Okay, so, and also I'd love to say thank you to Yvette for sharing. I know you joined our session a couple of weeks ago, and we gave you some colour suggestions, and you've sent through some images which look fantastic, and thank you very much for sharing. And you've used my all-time favourite colour, which is a colour called Highland Meadow, which is a beautiful green. Now we know that we are, you could say I am, but I think a lot of us are having sort of a love affair with green. Green is one of the most easiest colours to inject into a space. It's now been defined as the new neutral, and I think it's beautiful. So, and very versatile. So here's the colour here. Let me just, Highland Meadow. So that's the colour that we recommended for Yvette, and that is the colour that if you have a look in the feed, you'll be able to see the image, and it's beautiful. It looks fantastic. Well done, Yvette. So, what else do I have here? So I've got That's It Trade Services joining us. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. So you've popped a question into the feed. So we're wanting to update each room in our home. It's an ongoing project. Do you think different colours in rooms is a great idea, or using one colour throughout and making each room individual with furnishings, etc.? Also, can you advise of a non-dating colour that works well with most spaces? Home is quite bright. Okay, that's a really good question. So it's, once upon a time I would have said, you know what, using one colour throughout is the way to go. But the way that we are evolving and transforming our spaces now with the use of colour, I think it's very much, could I say, on trend to use colour within your spaces, and colour can now be used to define a space really, really well. So we're not, and look, don't get me wrong, I love the look of one colour throughout a home. I love the fact that it's cohesive, and I know that, you know, if I were to sit here and interview lots of homeowners, that would be the way that many people go. And I completely understand it. It's safe, it works really well, it looks fantastic, you can't go wrong. So, but I do also know of how wonderful it can look when you inject various colours into various rooms. So it's entirely up to you. Colour is so personal, but I would recommend, if you are unsure of, you know, painting every room a different colour, so to speak, you could take one colour throughout, and then you could inject a colour to personalise each space by way of a feature wall. And I know it's very debatable. A lot of people say, a feature wall's in, are they out? Look, they're in. Everybody's still using feature walls, and it's a fantastic way to identify a room or a space. And then if you do tire of that colour, it's easy to paint just one wall. So it's still very, very relevant, and I do believe that it'll be around for a very long time, as it already has been. So it's entirely up to you. I'm very happy to give you some suggestions on colour. So let me just, yeah, and you can, and you're saying here as well, sorry, I'm reading and thinking, that you can individualise each room with furnishings, and you certainly can do that as well. So, and for a non-dating colour that would work well with most spaces and your home is quite bright, I would opt for, it depends. Okay, I would opt for more of a colour that sits within the neutral space. So when you look at, let's just put whites, for example. When you look at whites, and here our latest whites and neutrals brochure has been designed to assist with this. So looking at our brochure, because I'm back to front here. Okay, so I have cooler tones going into neutral tones, going sort of into the middle, and then going into warmer tones on the outer. So you've got cool, neutral, and warm whites. So a cooler white looks fantastic in an area that is saturated in natural sunlight, and works really, really well. Warmer whites tend to work extremely well in areas that lack that sunlight. They tend to warm up a dull space, if you like. And then neutral tones work well pretty much everywhere. So I guess if you're wanting something that's not going to, that's going to be timeless, going for that neutral sort of style white, if you like, is going to stand the test of time. So there's colours like, as I mentioned before, there's a colour like aspen snow, alpine snow, which tend to sit within that neutral sort of space. Let me just see if I can find. So something like that would look fantastic, dependent on whether you're wanting something quite neutral or whether you're wanting more space. Okay, Charisse, no worries. You're very, very welcome. Let me know, are you wanting... So what I'm recommending here are effectively whites / neutrals. So are you wanting that to take throughout your whole space, or are you wanting a little bit more colour? Because I can dial the colour up if you like, or the tone up. Let me know. I'll be very happy to help. Let me see. So this is the thing, when I hold it up to the screen, you're not going to be able to see it that well. However, I'm still going to do it. The second one from the top here is a colour called Aspen Snow. It is a beautiful tone, and you can inject beautiful greens to complement this. As I was showing before, those nutmeg chocolate tones work really, really well with this as well. Pretty much sort of any style colour is going to work with this because it's got that neutral undertone. So let me know a little bit more, and then I'll be really, really happy to give you some more information. So if you can let me know how much colour you want, like whether you're wanting the walls to be not as much white or having a little bit more saturation of colour, if you like. And also let me know what's on your flooring and what other elements are existing within your space, and then I can sort of pinpoint and be a little bit more accurate with some colour for you. I'd be very happy to help. So I look forward to a few more questions in the feed from you, and I'll be very happy to help. I'll wait for that. Thank you. What else do we have here? Okay, so hi Dan, thank you very much for joining us. Sorry, I was reading so I could start thinking. Okay, so you're saying, hi there, I have my bed against a half window and would like that wall to have a feature. Walls are white, furniture is black wood. Sorry, walls are white, furniture is black wood, have light grey carpet. Okay, so you've got black wood furniture, you've got a light grey carpet, walls are white. Okay, so are you thinking of... Are there any particular colours that you're drawn towards? So just so that I've got a starting point. Immediately I'm thinking of some beautiful greens. I'm also thinking of sort of neutral tones, even something like the backdrop that I have here. This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions. What colour is behind me, which is a colour called Foxdale. So if you give me a little bit more information, Dan, I'm very happy to expand on some colour choices for you. What else do I have here? Hi Ryan, thank you very much for joining us. So what types of Taubmans paint do you recommend to cover yellow walls with either a warm or cool white? Thanks. Okay, our best Taubmans paint that I would recommend is a product called Taubmans Endure. I had to think about that. I was about to tell you all weather. It's exterior. So Taubmans Endure is fantastic, and what makes it so wonderful is the fact that it has what's called NanoGuard technology. So if you were to put a standard paint film under a microscope, it would have a one-size paint particle. NanoGuard, so our Endure has, because of the NanoGuard technology, has that one-size paint particle, but then also a smaller paint particle, which fills the airspace, creates what we call an interlocking molecular structure, which means you can scrub the paint. It's not going to end up with patches, what we call shiny patches, which are commonly known as burnishing. It has mold inhibitors inbuilt, so it's fantastic for, you can use it in a bathroom, kitchen, you can use it wet areas, etc. So it's a brilliant product. It's been endorsed by Sensitive Choice. So for anybody that suffers from asthma and allergies, it is the choice of paint to use because of the endorsement from Sensitive Choice. It's safe to use. It's a fantastic product. And it has really, really good opacity, so really good coverage. So that would be the way that I would take you, Ryan. I'd say have a look at our Taubmans Endure. Brilliant product. I cannot talk highly enough for it. And if you're wanting a warm white, have a look at a colour called Aria Ivory. So if you grab yourself the new whites and neutrals brochure, I'm hoping that it's in here. Otherwise, so it should be. Where are we? Maybe it's in the interiors. Let me just backtrack here. You can grab the whites and neutrals, but you can also grab, let me just see here. Here we go. In our, I'll show you the cover. There is our interior. Have a look. It is on the second page, if you like. And it's the center color here that has a square around it, a rectangle around it, so a grey rectangle around it, which is basically indicating that it's one of our popular colors. That is a beautiful, warmer white to have a look at. I love it. If I could say that we were having a color of the year, that would be it. Simply because of the fact that it works really, really well for people that are creating that modern Mediterranean aesthetic, for people that are using things like terrazzo, travertine, etc. It sits beautifully with that. So have a look at that. And then for a cooler white, you can also look at, what have we got here? I mean, you can have a look at Miss Universe. That's quite a cool white. Or if you're unsure, have a look at our number one white, which is a color called Crisp White. It's beautiful. It has a very soft, I suppose, glow to it almost. And it is a fantastic, it's my default go-to white. It's beautiful. I've used it in many homes and it never disappoints. So I hope that helps you. Okay, thanks, Deanne. Okay, so you have green tropical plants in the room as well as black, purple and silver pictures on the opposite wall. Fantastic. Okay, so you could use a beautiful green. And I'm just thinking here. So depending on I would have, so I'm going to take you into I'm going to give you a few suggestions here. So this green sort of sits a little bit more in the realms of grey. So there's a beautiful tone here called Palm Frond. It's a fantastic colour. It's going to work really, really well with your tropical plants, with the black wood, everything else that you've got going on within your space, and also taking into consideration, I did read black, purple and silver picture on the opposite wall. So that's going to work really well with that. The other thing as well, you could go into more of a muted sort of purpley tone, I guess. I'm not going to, or even something that sits on the edge. Oh, see, now that could look beautiful. So there's a beautiful colour here, and you can see how well they sit together as well. I'll pop them together so you can see the sort of tones that I'm going for here. So this colour here is called Dusky Orchid. Something like that would sit really nicely because I'm imagining your artwork and everything else within your space. That's going to work really well as well. Or the other thing you could do is, if you're not opposed to trying something else a little bit different, going for a colour that's sort of a pink, but it sits on the edge as well, so a pinky sort of beigey tone, which are very much on trend. I know I use that word quite a bit, but you know, hey, it's on trend to say on trend. Anyway, look, I would have a look at, where are we? Here we go. These are the sorts of tones I'm thinking. So I've got two there. So the top one is Pink Dust, and then the one below it is a colour called Fetching Pink. Have a look at those as well. So there's 4 colours there that would work, I think, really well within your space. And last but not least, this is another beautiful green. Have a look at this colour here. It's called Birch Forest. So I would suggest testing those. Like you can have a look. You can go into your local hardware store. You can pick up some colour tips from the colour walls. Do note though that all of the colours that I'm talking about, not every colour lives on the colour wall. Generally in our fan deck, we can find them online. But the best thing that you can do so that you can really see how the colour is going to work for you, and this applies to everybody watching, is get yourself a sample pot. And when you are, let's just say you're going to Bunnings. So when our paint comes into Bunnings, it comes in on pallets, and in between each layer of paint is what's called a palette liner. So a palette liner is a really large piece of cardboard. So if you go and ask the team whether you can have a palette liner, then what I would do is once you get it home, you're going to want to cut a metre by a metre square. I think it's really important to see colour in its entirety. Just looking at it in a small little space doesn't really give you an indication of how it's going to perform within your space. So then brush out 3 coats of your sample pot. So I know our products, and I was mentioning Endure before, Endure is a 2-coat system, but because we're going straight onto cardboard, we're going to do 3 coats because one of those coats is going to aid as an undercoat. Then once your sample is dry, there are 2 areas to best test it. So here's your floor, here's your wall. Putting your large swatch here up against the wall, so it's, you know, sitting up against the floor. Now the reason that we do that is if you're looking, for example, I'll say, you know, let's just say you're testing crisp white and you've got beautiful Baltic pine floorboards that have got a really sort of golden undertone to them. Certain times of the day, that white on the wall is going to look gold. It's going to take on a really sort of golden hue. And then, for example, also if you've got something like, and I've used this analogy a million times, if you've got a red leather lounge, and sometimes, certain times of the day, again, that red leather lounge can sort of influence the colours on the wall or your wall colour. So it can start to look a little bit pink. So that's why you test it sort of down here. Now the other space as well is, so here's our wall, here's our ceiling. We're going to put our swatch here so that it's touching the ceiling, and then you can see the colour sort of up close to the ceiling. Now pay attention to how the colour looks in natural light, and also too when you put your lights on of an evening, so that artificial lighting, to see how the colour changes and to ensure that you're happy with how it works within your space. Best tip that I can give you, because, you know, just because Jane down the road has a certain colour in her place and it looks fantastic, and you use that same colour and take it to your house, depending on your lighting, the elements that exist within your space, your floor coverings, your window furnishings, etc., that colour can look different. So test it, then you won't be disappointed. That's number 1 tip, everybody. Okay, so what else? I've got quite a few questions coming through. I've probably got time to answer one more, and then I will pop the rest of the questions. I'll answer the rest of the questions when I'm offline and pop the answers into the feed. Okay, Candice, thank you very much for joining us. Okay, so you're saying hello. Can you tell me what the rule of thumb is? We would like to paint our garage white with white window frames. Should we match gutters to roof colour and then fascia boards to match the garage, or should the gutters be white as well? Sorry, boring white question. No, it's a great question because it applies even if you take white out of the picture and we're talking about other colours. It's really important. So for me, when I talk about painting exteriors, I think it's crucial that you've got cohesion, and the best way to create cohesion is to, this is what I do. I like to see window frames, the garage door, the guttering, the same colour. And then you've got your colour starting up here on your gutter, then coming down into your windows and then coming into your garage door. So then that leaves you, the option to, or the opportunity to inject another colour to the facade, and then also another colour by way of perhaps, you might want to inject, as we were talking earlier on this evening, that 60-30-10. You might want to inject colour onto a front door, etc. So keeping the elements the same creates almost a neutral, and then it gives you the ability to play with colour in other ways. So coming back to your question, we'll paint our garage door white with white window frames. Perfect. Should we match the gutters to the roof colour and then fascia boards to match the garage? I would match the gutters to your windows and to your garage. I think that's going to, as I said, just create that cohesion. And then for your fascia, depending on what you're painting your facade, you could either match the fascia to the facade, so that just kind of disappears, or if you're wanting to create a feature with your fascia, then perhaps you can always inject another colour. I guess it just depends what other colours. Candice, let me know what colour is your roof, and then what colour is the facade that you have now, and then I can sort of guide you as to what I would do with your fascia board, etc. But yeah, generally, if you keep some of the elements the same, it helps to create that cohesion, and it creates, fantastic street appeal. Okay, I'm going to now, because I've just talked for so long, I'm going to hop off streaming. So I'm not going to be in front of the camera, but I am going to be here. I can see the questions coming through here for the next half an hour or so. So if you do have any questions or any further questions, pop them into the feed and I will answer them for you. The ones that I haven't answered yet, I will answer as well. And if you do have any images or photos that you'd like to share, where you're wanting some advice, now is the time to pop them into the feed, and I can do my best to have a look at those and answer them for you as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining our session this evening. It's always fantastic. I love it when we're sort of getting lots of questions and we can assist you with colour. That's what we're here for. We will be back again, same time, same place next week. So do come back and join us. In the meantime, if you've got any further questions, pop it into the feed, or you can come back to us throughout the week, and we certainly do our best to answer them for you as well throughout the week. So until then, everybody, thanks for joining us. Stay safe, everybody, and as I always say, happy painting. Thanks very much. Bye.